Good evening. Hopefully you can all hear what's going on here, and I hope you're having a good evening, morning, afternoon, wherever you are. We'll get started in just a minute. We're going to have a little chat about UniFi gateways today and what the differences are between some of them and which one you would probably choose. So let me know down in the chat window if you can hear what I'm saying, just to make sure you are getting some sort of audio. Just making sure everything's live. Just bear with me. So, yep, there we go. That all seems to be good. Cool. So let's jump in. So, welcome everyone to this evening's stream. I hope you're all having a great evening. So let's start with a thank you. So I just want to show you a milestone that I have passed this week. So I've actually gone and moved across to the 15,000 subscribers. So thank you to every single one of you that are out there that support the channel, enjoy what I bring, and even giving suggestions for future videos. So I appreciate all of you out there. And off the back of that, I have released a new video this week, which has just been out a few hours. So if you were on my live stream last week, we spoke about the UNAS Pro, and I said I'm bringing out an SSD versus HDD video and the sort of speeds that you would get and which one you would want to go for. So that video is now out. So you're welcome. I can drop a link in the chat if you want to have a look at it. Let me know. If not, just go to the channel, and that video is now out. So let's jump straight into the topic then. So the big one around UniFi gateways is which one do you buy and where do you even start? So I have done a video on this where it's a bit of a lengthy video. It's about 20-25 minutes or so in terms of length, and we go through every single different option. We go through every single different option we have for the gateways that you can buy. So one initial thing that you think about straight away is, well, how are you going to host the cloud controller? Is it something you're going to keep within the unit itself? Is it something you want to host separately? Is it a separate piece of hardware that you want? So you have a few different choices that you can do. You can think about when you're looking to buy something like this. So we can start with something like looking at the cloud key gateways, for example. And in this, there's a few different options in terms of hosting the UniFi controller. There are some third parties out there that you can choose to host it, so you don't have to use UniFi's hosting solution, but this is from them, so it's something you can look at. So that starts from $29. We'll open that up in a new tab and we'll have a look. We have the Cloud Key, which is now an SSD option, I believe, only. I'm not sure they do the HDD version anymore, but if they do, that's an option that you can buy. So the hosting starts from $29 a month. I'm not sure if this is actually available globally, actually. So I know we're just jumping around already. Let's just go to the UK site. Okay, yep, it is available throughout the globe by the looks of it. By globe, I mean it's in the US and the UK. I'm not going to go and sit here and check every single site or every single country that they are available in, but you can do that by going to the website. And you can manage up to 1,000 UniFi network devices. So this is purely for networking. So it's not going to run Protect. It's not going to run Access. It's not going to run Talk. So it is literally just purely for UniFi networks. So that's the first one. And it looks like they give you a trial as well. So I'm not going to actually open that one up because that's going to open up into mine. But yeah, you can actually give a trial as well if you want. So you've got I'm not quite sure how long the trial is, but there is a trial period that you can look at as well. The next one is the SSD. So they say this is where they used to do a HDD version. It's not in stock, and I'm sure a lot of you might not be surprised by that. I mean, if it's not in stock, it's not in stock. The US is generally a little bit harder to get a hold of stock now and then. So that is not available at this point. But this is a small, tiny little device that has a 1 terabyte hard drive built into it. That's the hard drive or SSD version. So they both have a 1 terabyte drive in them. They can be powered via PoE, or they can be used, or you can use USB-C to power them up and then plug them into your network. So depending on what other gateway or other devices you have on your network, or if you are looking just to run Protect or Talk, you're able to do this from this. So this is the multi-application site management. So you can see this. So the one that you host locally on this hardware device can run all of your applications. So the other thing to note is if we scroll down, you can see a little picture of this, and it's a tiny little machine. It's probably about that sort of size. It's not massive. So let me just check that didn't mess with my image. Yep. So this camera I'm using has tracking. When you do motion gestures, it messes around with the image. So I'm probably better off not doing that. And then we have the CloudKey Enterprise. Now, this is something that if you have a massive multi-site management, it's $5,000, so it's a big price to pay, but you can manage 1,000 UniFi network devices and 10,000 clients. It has a 10 gig SFP plus on it, so to get that throughput that you might need, and a 1 gig RJ45 as well, and it has some redundant power supplies built in from it too. So it's 1U, so it is rack mountable, and it doesn't actually say. If I go to tech specs, you can see it's quite a lengthy 1U server. So yeah, you're looking at 78 centimeters, so it's almost a meter in size in terms of deep. So yeah, and it's got a fair amount of onboard storage. It's got 16 gig of RAM. It's probably the most powerful cloud key that's out there per se, unless you actually run it on your own server. Then yeah, that's that. And also this is again only for UniFi networks. It doesn't run all the other Protect, Talk. So there's a few different things that you have there that you can choose from. The last thing you can do, if I just grab a new tab, let me just take this across 1 second. As I mentioned, you can actually set yourself up a self-hosted controller. Let me zoom in a little bit to this. So a few different ways you can do this. You can run this on a Windows machine. You can run it on a Mac machine. You can run it on a Linux machine. I believe there are people that have had it installed in Docker, so you can go ahead and install it on there. And everything that you need to know to do this is in this link here. So you can just go to UniFi's site. They tell you how to self-host it, and all the information you need is just there. So just looking at the questions. So 5 versus 10. So you basically want me to try the RAID 5 versus RAID 10 and seeing what the difference is between them in terms of speeds. Yep, that would require me to have multiple disks, so I don't think I can try with a multiple SSD disk. I know I have multiple HDD disks, so I can definitely try with that one. The 6 gig limit is the SATA limit that we have on the machines, so on the SATA connection on the UNVR Pro. So if I quickly pull this up, so the SATA connection that they have within the drive itself, it has a 6 gigabit per second limit, so there's only a certain amount of data that it can take in and out within there. So that's what I meant by that. But yeah, I mean, I can try and put something together in the future. Let's see what we can find, because there's a few things I've got on the UniFi roadmap at the moment, but maybe something I can squeeze in somewhere. So that is the so jumping back to the self-hosted controller. So that's the options that you have in terms of that side of things. Now, you have the cloud gateways. I'll come back to these shortly, but the cloud gateways host, not all of them, but most of them host all the multi-app setups, so you can have all of them across the board, but there are some network-specific ones, and we'll have a look at that shortly. So the gateways themselves, so if we come back a little bit and we have a little look, it can be a little bit confusing with the UniFi naming convention. There are a number of different ones that are named very similar, like the Cloud Gateway Max, and the Gateway Max. It's quite easy to get them mixed up, and they're very similar in price as well. But there are some differences between them. We're not going to deep dive into all the differences in this video, but like I mentioned, if I go to my videos, I'm sure it's on here somewhere. Yeah, this one right here. So comparing every UniFi gateway in 2024. So it's one I released a few months back. Yeah, I mean, go ahead and check it out if you really want the deep dive into all the technical specs and everything that the differences between them. So am I right in thinking a cloud key is not required if a UDM is used? So UniFi Dream Router you're talking about? Or are we talking about the original UDM that was, I think, if I understand correctly? Yeah, so this is the UDR, sorry. You're talking about the UniFi Dream Machine. Yes, that is correct. If you have the original Dream Machine, that did have all the applications on them. So it used to have Protect, Talk, but I think it had a limit on what you could run on there, if I remember correctly. I'd need to go back and have a look at the specs of the Dream Machine to figure out what it was. Let me just see if I can find one. So this probably not, it's not official, Ubiquiti's official website, but I think you're talking about this one, right? The little Dream Machine. And I think if I go back to the specs, yeah, it has an integrated cloud key. So this runs the network application. I can't remember off the top of my head if it runs all of them, but it definitely runs the UniFi network application. I'm sure it did, but I might be mistaken. But if anyone can answer that question. UDM Pro SE, yep, correct. That runs all the applications on there. So we'll come back to the cloud gateway shortly. I don't want to jump around too much because I know I did that in my previous live stream. I jumped around quite a bit. So I'll stick to the gateways for now, and then we'll come to the cloud key versions in a short while. But in short, yep, that's basically the case. You have a cloud key built into the UDM Pro and the UDM SE. So these gateways, you need to have some sort of third-party controller. So this would be, I say third-party controller, you need to have an external controller. So it would be either the official hosting, the Cloud Key Enterprise, or even the Cloud Key Plus, or even anything that you're hosting yourself. So there's a few different options. We have the Lite, the Max, the Gateway Pro, and the Gateway Enterprise, which is the latest version out there. So you can see as they go up in size. So I think the Lite is a gigabit. In fact, let's just jump into them. So the Lite itself is a gigabit WAN and LAN port, and it only has those 2 ports on it. Yep, that's correct. So you're very limited with what you can do. It's very basic. So if you have a small site with a few users, you can go ahead and yeah, just set something like that up, and it will keep it going, and you don't have to spare a massive expense when you're setting that up. Let me just jump back to some of the comments. Happy user of the Cloud Gateway Ultra. The best one is the 2.5 gig with 2 or 3 cameras. I use it for my flat. 2 cameras, 1 gig internet, and it goes full with IPS IDS. Well, I don't think you can complain much more than that. I mean, yeah, it's the Gateway Lite and the Gateway Ultra, or the Gateway Lite, the Gateway Ultra and the Gateway Max. See, even I get confused with some of the names. And the Gateway Ultra and the Gateway Max, the cloud versions, they are quite good for smaller apartments, or that have a couple of access points, or maybe a couple of cameras. Something like that is really ideal to get set up. Even for those bigger houses, I mean, you can just get yourself a PoE switch off the back of it and just run everything else that you need, and they run at a decent speed. Nothing that the average home user won't notice. Maybe some more power users might get a bit more funny with that, but it does the job. Hey Black Jedi, thank you for your congratulations. Yeah, 15,000, big milestone. Keep climbing though. We're going. One day I will get that silver plaque, so only 85,000 to go. So yeah, anybody helps. I mean, if you're not subscribed already, go ahead and subscribe. I think last time I checked, I was about 2 away. Oh, there we go. Look, 15,100. So we've jumped up a little bit more. I was 2 away from that number right there. So And if you guys can hit the like button and react, I'd appreciate that as well. It helps in every way, shape, or form with the YouTube algorithm. So then we move on to the Gateway Max. This is the similar version to the Cloud Gateway Max in nearly every way, shape, or form, except this requires a cloud key or a UniFi hosting or a UniFi network server. It needs something like that to get that set up. 1.5 gig with IPS and RDS enabled, so it does actually have 4 2.5 gig ports on the back. You'll see just there. Let's see if I can find a better picture, which is this one right here. So that's 4 2.5 gig ports on the back of it and 1 2.5 gig WAN. But when you turn on IPS and RDS, that's that CPU that comes in, that runs and obviously processes all your traffic. That is limited to a 1.5 gig. I think on my review video, if I remember correctly, this one right here, the Cloud Gateway Max, I think I did a throughput test, if I remember correctly. I might be wrong. But yeah, I mean, check it out if you want to have a look at those. I do have a lot of Ubiquiti content. I do some other videos every now and then. So yeah, I mean, feel free to check out the channel. I do have some other networking products on the way. So yeah, I mean, if you want to know more about some other stuff, yeah, feel free to subscribe. So that's the Max anyway. Oh, I've gone back too far. And then we have the Pro version. This does 10 gig multi-WAN, so it has one 10 gig SFP plus for WAN, one 10 gig SFP plus for LAN, and they also have a gigabit on either of those as well. If this, I haven't actually played with this one myself, but if it's anything like the others, some of those ports are remappable, so you can switch them around a little bit. I'm not sure you can add 2 10 gig LANs or 2 10 gig WANs. It's something, if anybody has one, I mean, they can try it and figure it out. But yeah, I mean, that's something, that's the next step, and that supports 3.5 gig with IPS and IDS enabled. So if you've got a faster connection and you need something like that, that does that one for you. That's what happens when you press the wrong button. So let's go back to the cloud gateways here, or the gateways, I should say. You can't run cameras on the Ultra. Yes, again, okay, you know what? You guys got me. I'll jump around. So if we go to the Ultra quickly, this runs UniFi network. So that's all it runs, and we'll come back to that in a few moments. What's this? And believe me, with the public IP and a small NAS open ports, I have at least 10 attacks every day. So yeah, the IPS as RDS is something I would definitely say you do turn on. You have to be maybe very brave not to turn it on, or just don't have anything public facing at all. But I'm guessing a lot of people that have the UniFi gear tend to have a little bit more public facing. The other way you could do it is to set up a VPN. I mean, you can set those up and then you don't need to worry too much in terms of getting attacks to your network. Still, your public IP is available there. But yeah, that gives you an added layer if that's what you want. Just flicking through here, bear with me. Yeah, I mean, feel free. I mean, if you, so I have the Cloud Gateway Max. Okay, fine. So he was talking about the Gateway Max, which does run the full stack. Tailscale, I've heard quite a little bit about Tailscale, but I've not actually got a chance to install it. I wanted to see what it's like. I do have a couple of Raspberry Pis kicking around. So yeah, I mean, if you want to integrate that into if you want to see a video on integrating that into your UniFi setup, let me know. And maybe it's something I can have a look at, because it's not something I've played with yet. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely something that's, I've seen a few people mention it, and it's been all over the Reddit forums as well from time to time. So yeah, I mean, I've definitely read stuff about that. You're still new to UniFi. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of us out here that do quite a lot of videos on the UniFi stuff. A quick search on YouTube will show you some of the bigger channels. I'm more of a smaller fish at the moment, working my way to a big fish status, but still a smaller fish at the moment. Hello from Germany. Welcome this evening. It's getting you guys are an hour ahead, I think. It's getting a bit more later there. So yeah, I mean, welcome to the stream. So a +1 for Tailscale, but also WireGuard. I mean, yeah, UniFi has WireGuard options built into it. Let me just see if I can pull something up here. Just want to be cautious before I start bringing things up from my screen. Yeah, I mean, if you jump into the no, didn't want to do that. That's what I didn't want to do. But anyway, okay, I'll edit that bit out after. So that you can set up a WireGuard server using your WAN ports and get all that set up, and the L2TP option is there as well. So yeah, I mean, you definitely have those options to set up. When you run UniFi from home, I think Tailscale is like shooting ballistic missiles for ants. That's definitely one way of putting it. Ballistic missiles for ants. I'll bring this across so you can see some of the chats. I mean, you can read them anyway, but I'll bring it across so you can see what's going on in the video. So you think I'm not just laughing to myself. There is stuff that's quite amusing in the window. Yeah, I mean, it does seem, from what I've heard, it does seem a bit more enterprisey, but I mean, you'd be surprised. I've known of users that run the EFG, which is a £2,000 gateway at home. Don't get me wrong, if I had the chance and if Ubiquiti sent me one, I'd definitely be running it at home. But yeah, I mean, there are some people that run a fair amount of kit at home, which makes it a little bit more interesting. So yeah, I mean, let's jump back then. Let's jump into, where do we get to? I think we just got to the cloud, the Gateway Enterprise. So this is the big gateway that I was telling you about. So this is the Gateway Enterprise, but they also have the Cloud Gateway version as well. So which is called the Enterprise Fortress Gateway. The specs are exactly the same. This one has a little bit more features built into it. So you've seen the more enterprisey stuff that's appearing into the UniFi ecosystem. So I think they're really making a push into the enterprise space. If we have a quick look here, so we have the Enterprise Campus 24 and 48 port, which is around a lot pricier than some of the other switches. So $2,400 and $4,000 in terms of, so they're definitely pushing those. And there's some very big features that they've asked for. A lot of people have asked for a long time. I think I've said this in a previous stream. I mean, UniFi made a push for the enterprise space a little while ago, and I think they sort of pulled away a little bit from that. And yeah, I mean, they're definitely back. I think they've heard some of the comments, and they're definitely back with pushing some of the more enterprisey, redundancies, I guess would be the most simplest way to put it, that they needed. So, I mean, that's with the switches. So the enterprise gateway is the one that you'll see that has VRRP built into it. It has 12.5 gig worth of routing with IPS and IDS, so that will have a more powerful CPU inside it and being able to run it. It has hot swappable CPUs, which you don't hot swappable PSUs, not CPUs that you see on the gateways. I'm sure you guys are getting a bit more of an insight on how many times it takes me to record my videos now. So you can you have a hot swappable PSUs in there for power redundancy, and I think it's the new enterprise gateway enterprise switches which have swappable fans as well. So that makes it a little bit more. It reduces the single point of failure, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. So that's the gateway enterprise. So then we switch over to the cloud gateway options. So now all of the ones that you see here have some sort of cloud gateway built in. So we start with the Dream Router. So I think this has been out of stock for a little while now. Very rarely does it come back, and if it does, I'm sure it's just dribs and drabs, which is just some of the stock. So, and it's Wi-Fi 6, so it wouldn't surprise me if something else is coming soon. I'm going to make the assumption. I'm not 100% sure on that, but yeah, I mean that's Wi-Fi 6. This one supports three applications at once, so you can run you can run Talk, Protect, Access, Network. What's the other one? Connect, I think it is. So you can run all of those across this. I say all of them. You can run them at a maximum of 3. So you can only use Network, Protect, and Talk, or Network, Protect, and Access. So you can only ever run 3 at once, and your internet speeds are up to 700 megabits per second. So with, I think, the IPS and IDS, it's 700 megabits per second in terms of speed. You need to have a micro SD card for Protect. So that's a minimum of 128 gig worth of storage. So hopefully, I mean, that gets a refresh, and maybe a little bit better specs in there, hopefully, for the WAN port, since a gigabit is being phased out very quickly in a lot of UniFi's latest products they've released. So that was the dream router. If we go back and then we start moving up the line, so I think I broke this down with stuff that has Wi-Fi. When I did my video, I broke this down with stuff that has Wi-Fi built in. So we have the Dream router, we have the Dream Wall, the UniFi Express. All of those have Wi-Fi built into them. So I believe all 3 of them actually are still Wi-Fi 6. The Dream Wall was an interesting one. I think a lot of people have purchased them and installed them, but it was something that was looking to change the way things were mounted and set up in your home. I mean, I'm sure this will work for a lot of people, that they just want to run all their cables to a single point of location. But I think if you're running to the point where you're getting a lab, you're going to have a little bit more than just this. You're going to have a little bit more than just this setup. So this has some good features built into it. So it has the 10 gig. It has a 24 port switch built into it. So the reason it's a little bit more expensive is it has that built in, and it has the 10 gig SFP plus and 2.5 gig WAN on it. So I think the only thing missing from this at this point, some other people might argue otherwise, but I think you're missing probably just Wi-Fi 7. Like, I mean, it's still got 10 gig. It's got 2.5 gig WAN. Maybe they might. I can't see this one changing anytime soon at this point. The UniFi Express, this one's been an interesting one. It's cheap, and it's a good way to get into the UniFi ecosystem. Again, this has two ports at the back, I believe. Let's have a quick look. There we go. Build features. Yep. So 2 ports on the back, 2 gigabit ports, a small apartment, a flat, a small remote office that you just need a connection for, that you want, say for example, Site Magic, and you want to connect site to site. You can use something like this and it runs that for you perfectly fine. Wi-Fi 6 again, 50 devices, so it doesn't actually support that many devices, which is why I say a very small office, because a lot of people have complained that this runs slow as well. I have seen it. I mean, I've used it. I've got one. I've run an update before. I've run an update before, and it took about 20-25 minutes. So it took a little while, but I mean, you got to remember it's $150. It's not, compared to the rest of the UniFi stuff, it's very it's at the bottom of the list. So it will do the job, but you have to think twice as to what you want to do with this. Some people take this as a travel router. They tend to use this just to have stuff set up in their hotel or wherever they are, just to get Wi-Fi. So yeah, I mean, it's not something that you would want to use every day, I would say, unless you have a really small office or a small apartment with limited number of devices. Again, I think I've covered this in a video in the past. Let's have a little look down here. So yeah, here we go. I mean, I did this a little while ago, UniFi Express versus Cloud Gateway. And then I did the Gateway Max. And I think more recently, there you go, I did a battle of the compact gateways, which I actually compared all 3. And I think that might actually be the one where I did the speed test in. Thanks, Black Jedi. Yep. So if you haven't already, like, subscribe, share, comment, do what you want to do. I do actually have, I have set it up. I've not officially launched it yet. Is the membership thing. So if you want to be part of the Inside Wire community, I mean, feel free to join. I do publish videos there a little bit earlier if you want to get access to them a little bit quicker. And there's other priority stuff in there as well. But yeah, I mean, feel free to join and come aboard. I bought the USP RPS. It doesn't seem to provide battery. What UPS do you recommend for $300 to $600? UPSs. So I haven't really come across many UPSs. I mean, they're normally already there by the time I get to them. In terms of UPSs, I think I've seen a lot of pictures. A lot of people have APT. They're one type. I can't give you specific models unless I start sitting here Googling with you. But I mean, feel free to reach out to me. And if we want to go through some stuff, I'm happy to go through it with you. So, and I think, was it Cyber Power? I think was the other one. I've seen a lot of Cyber Power UPSs. Let me just pull this up. Let's have a look. So this is Cyber Power. That's just loading there. So these guys, yeah, I mean, I've seen some rack mountable UPSs, which are quite nice. I'm hoping Ubiquiti actually come out with their own at some point, but I can't say for sure. So someone's put Eaton. Eaton are really good. I don't know if they are available in the UK. I think they are. Here we go, Eaton. So here's the Eaton ones. So yeah, I mean, depending on what you're looking for, there's a few in there and they vary in price. This is a nice rack mountable one. It also has a nice price as well. So it really depends on how much you're looking to spend. Cool. Eaton are more available in the UK. That's good to know. Yeah, like I said, I'm not going to claim that I'm an expert in UPSs. It's not something I've done a lot of in the past, but these are the ones that come to mind. Yeah. But I mean, if there are any UPS companies that want to send me anything for review, I'm not going to say no. Happy to learn more. As they say, every day you learn something new, right? Or try and learn something new every day. So yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of them out there. It would be a case of doing a quick Google. Just going to check some of the other streams. Sorry, bear with me. So let's jump back a little bit. So we went through the Dream Wall, the UniFi Express, and this is the Cloud Gateway and the Cloud Gateway Max. So the main difference, I think, between these two are the Cloud Gateway Max runs Protect to start with, and it has some storage options, which we'll go through in just a second. But I mean, they both do 30 UniFi devices. They do 300 clients approximately. They have multi WAN capabilities. It's just the Cloud Gateway Ultra has 1 gigabit per second in terms of ports, and the Cloud Gateway Max has 2.5 gigabits. The WAN port on the Cloud Gateway Ultra is 2.5 gigabits, and if we scroll down, oh no, yeah, it is a 2.5 gigabit port, but it's 1 gig when you turn on IPS and IDS, and this is where the Cloud Gateway Ultra becomes that little bit more desirable because it does a 1.5 gig and it's $70 more. So you're not jumping a massive amount, and that is with 512 gig worth of storage as well. I mean, if you look at no storage, it drops down to 199, which is the same price. Nope. Sorry, it is from 199. That was correct. So it's 279 with the 512 storage and 199 with no storage. So for $70 more, you can run the full UniFi stack. I mean, even if it's not something you're thinking about doing at the moment, it may be worth buying this. So if you want to add any more cameras in the future, or if you do have any cameras, UniFi now support ONVIF, so you can plug that into your ecosystem and get them connected into UniFi Protect. So that's one option. The bit I think a lot of people gave a bit of criticism, rightly or wrongly, I'll let you make your own decisions on that. Third-party NVMe, so you need to buy yourself the SSD adapter. I think I saw someone who 3D printed it, so you have that option then. And I think I seen one which was completely atrocious, which they just literally completely hacked the side of it. I don't know if anyone saw that one, but I don't know if I'll be able to find it. Images. Yeah, I don't think I've got, but basically, yeah, I don't know if anybody saw that one. They just completely hacked off the side of it, just to put in the SSD. So yeah, I mean, that's $19 if you want to buy the tray. So if you buy the no storage option, you then need to buy this at a later point if you want to add storage. If you just want to buy the 512 version, which comes with a drive, then it's $279. So you can decide which one. How did your 3D printed one work? I'd be intrigued, because I think the UniFi one is made of aluminium partly. In fact, I think all of it is apart from the end. So I'll be intrigued to know how the 3D printed one worked. So that's the Cloud Gateway Max. Let's go back. Yeah, so this one does the same in terms of that. 1.5 gig IPS and IDS enabling, 1.5 gig IPS and IDS throughput you can get. And this is the one that has the 2.5 gig on them. So if we have a look down here, so 2.5 gig WAN port, and then 4 2.5 gig ports. I think the only thing that they've missed out on here, again, right, probably a marketing thing, not quite sure, to try and push you to the others, is they didn't add PoE on here. I think had they have added PoE, this probably could have been a really good model. It might have needed more CPU power, it might have needed more cooling, it might have changed everything within the dynamics. Obviously, there's a lot of testing and designing that goes into this, and I'm sure that would have been the case, but this would have made it the perfect gateway. A lot of people probably would have come out after and said, well, they should have added in Wi-Fi, but I think if they added just a couple of PoE ports, I think this would have been ideal. You could maybe put in a camera and a Wi-Fi access point, or just 2 Wi-Fi access points, and it would have been ideal. Then we move into the Dream Machine. Let me just take a stop and let's have a quick look back through the comments on here. How's the DNS support? So for example, the Cloud Gateway Ultra running a third party. So I believe on the WAN connectivity, even because it's running the same UniFi software, the only thing I would say would be different would be the Express, but I think that only just doesn't run IPS and IDS. I think that's the only difference. But I think on the internet connection, you actually have the option to, let me just take a screenshot. You actually get to put in the dynamic DNS in there. So if wrong button. So if we go here, we have a quick look at this. So if I bring this across, this is one of the screenshots. You have dynamic DNS, and you can populate the service and then the host name and the server name within there. So there's a whole bunch of different services that you can pick. So that's an option on there that you can do. Currently using the ER3 Lite, looking to upgrade. I mean, yeah, it's something that you could go ahead and upgrade that. How large are the video files the G3 Instant produces? How long? I mean, are you looking for a 1-minute file, 5-minute file, 10-minute file? It's not something I can give you right now because I would have to look on my G3 Instant itself just to see what it does. But yeah, what sort of size? I mean, yeah, you also have the quality of them as well. I've printed from ABS. It was okay. Okay, fine. Dream Machine Pro should have PoE plus. Is that the Pro Max? No, you're talking about the Dream Machine Pro. Yeah, sorry. The Dream Machine Pro should have PoE. That's why they had the Dream Machine SE. So the Dream Machine SE was the one that had PoE built into it, and we'll have a look at that in a second. Dream Machine. So I have a G4 Doorbell Pro and Theta Pro. It's about 2 gigabytes per day, so it's quite efficient. Okay, but it records only events. Cool. Thank you for passing on information. This is why we are all here together, to learn more and help each other out. So if we go to the Dream Machine, then we have 3 different options on here. So we have the Dream Machine Pro, which was the first one that was released a very long time ago. That was the first one that was released. Then we had the Dream Machine Special Edition. If I get my words out. We have the Dream Machine Special Edition, which came out, I want to say about 3 years ago, maybe 2-3 years ago. And we have the Pro Max, which probably came out, I want to say, earlier this year. You can see the price differences between them: $379, $499, and $599. So one thing to remember: so when you go from the Pro to the Pro to the Special Edition, it has PoE built into it. So the specs are the same, but it has PoE built into it. So if we jump into this and we have a quick look here, so we have 10 gig SFP, we have LAN ports, there's 2 PoE plus and 6 PoE. There's a 10 gig WAN port and a 2.5 gig WAN port on this. NVR HDD bay and 128 gig SSD built in for NVR recordings, but you also can add in a 3.5 inch drive as well. What I should actually do, which would probably make more sense, is go to the techspecs.ui.com. I don't know why I didn't go to this earlier, but this gives you a rough idea. I'm just going to make this slightly wider so we can see it. But this gives you the difference between the 3. So yeah, I think this is 2 text base. I mean, if you want to have a look at that, feel free to go. It's good to when you're looking at it yourself, but reading to it, it can be a little bit more. So I'll just talk to them for now. Unless you want to see the tech specs, let me know in the chat if that's what you want to see. But so the main differences between them: so the Pro and the Dream Machine Special Edition are exactly the same. They have PoE built into them, and it has the 128 gig built-in storage. So that's the additional part. In terms of the technical side of things, so in terms of CPU and RAM, exactly the same. Then we push up to and that does, sorry, let me just add one more thing. That does 3.5 gig in terms of throughput for IPS and IDS. Then we have the Pro Max. So this is the most expensive one within the Dream Machine range. This has 10 gig. Again, in fact, it has the same ports. You would think this has built-in PoE, but it doesn't. There's no built-in PoE on this. So those 8 gig, those ports are 8 gig LAN ports, which are just 1 gigabyte ports. It'll be good. I don't know when and if they will come to refresh this, but I would imagine they will, whenever they do get round to it. This will be a 2.5 gigabit connectivity, and who knows, maybe they might throw in PoE again. But yeah, we're at the mercy of the team there, so we'd have to wait and see what happens. They should do a UDM Unified Dream Machine with 2.5 gig PoE plus ports, perfect for the AP7 line. Yeah, I mean, it all depends down to the CPU they use, right? Because there's a lot more data and stuff that's going to be running through the network, so, and how well it copes with the heating side of things. I know there is some equipment that runs a little bit warmer than the others, but I'm sure there's a lot more that meets it than what we see. It's easy for us to say throw this in, but I'm sure they would have done their testing in the background, or it's a very clever marketing scheme, one of the two, to push you to the next one or a different one. But yeah, I agree. It's not having PoE on the Pro Max. I think that was a big thing, but that's where the CPU power comes in, because the throughput of the IPS and IDS on this is 5 gigabits, 5 gigabit per second. And that has a redundant NVR storage built into it. So it has two 3.5-inch drives on there, and that is literally just a redundant storage. You don't necessarily have to have a second drive in there. You can run it quite perfectly fine with a single drive. I think I'm running it with a single drive at the moment. I do have another drive in my older UDM SE, so I'll probably pull that one out and put it in, but it runs perfectly fine with a single one. It has the 128 gig drive in it, and yeah, I mean, this runs the full stack as well. So there are a few that don't run the full stack, and that is the Cloud Gateway Ultra and the UniFi Express, and there's a limitation on the Dream router. So keep that one in mind when you are deciding which one to buy and which one you want to pick. Not all of them run the full UniFi stack, so just keep that one in mind. Last but not least is the UniFi Fortress Gateway. That is the same as the Enterprise Gateway, I think it was called. Gateway Enterprise. Sorry, wrong way. Gateway Enterprise. So that one runs the full sorry, this is the other one. This only runs the network stack as well. It doesn't run Protect. So you would probably have Enterprise Fortress Gateway, then you would have a UNVR Pro, for example, or UNVR, and then you would have your UNAS if you wanted NAS. So you can see how this is starting to build out. I think by the time Ubiquiti are done, I think all of us are going to have a 42U rack in our house with everything listed inside there, because it seems that when they bring something else, there seems to be always that one thing missing. But I mean, they're catering for a specific market. I mean, a more enterprise approach, this would be an office, which has probably got a decent connectivity. That has a decent connectivity. It's license free, which is always a bonus from an enterprise perspective. I think I've seen people that say the Cisco stuff and the HP stuff run up into the thousands in just licensing fees. So that's always good. And it has the 25 gig SFP28 on them. 2 10 gig SFP plus and 2.5 gigabit WAN ports. So this is designed literally to run your network. It won't do anything else. Let's jump back to, let's see if there's any other comments at the moment. Even the Pro should have it. It's enterprise model for once. I mean, PoE Plus is, I'm not sure I agree with the Enterprise Fortress Gateway. It's a nice to have a PoE on it, but generally when you're spending $2,000 on a machine, I think that is targeted to run something specific. Where I've lost my chat window. Where did I put it? There we go. So when Ubiquiti announces new stuff, is that a question? I mean, their announcements, they just come out. I mean, you'll find some. I think once upon a time it was something that they just released something on Monday, then something else on Wednesday. I mean, there's no set day when they arrive. They did just have the UniFi World Conference, which was held in Miami. Unfortunately, I didn't get to go to that, so I'm really gutted I missed that one. But maybe the next one I'll hopefully be able to make it out to. But yeah, I mean, that's something where they announce some stuff which is all under NDA at this point. So there was Reddit posts out there, but they've all been deleted. So I'm sure if you go back, you might find some remnants of it. But I mean, yeah, nobody knows what's coming out when. There are some other YouTubers that are a little bit bigger that might have a little bit more insight, but again, they're all under NDA, so you're not going to find out. You'll find out as soon as Ubiquiti announce it, basically. I wonder when they'll show the UNAS. Show the UNAS for peasants. So there's a rumor about a UniFi UNAS studio. I've not seen anything about that. I mean, It might be the case. I mean, a lot of people have said they're going to release a UNAS on the ENVR. So that is, if you haven't seen that one already, let me bring this one across. So, where are we? Security cameras. So, for those that don't know, I'll bring this across slightly just here. So, UniFi have 3 different NVR versions, and the storage version of the UNAS Pro looks exactly the same, or should I say, is exactly the same as the NVR Pro. Same specs, same CPU, same RAM, everything inside is exactly the same. So what they're saying is possibly releasing a NVR, a UNAS version of the NVR, and some people are even saying the UNAS version of the ENVR. So who knows? I mean, if Ubiquiti play it right, I mean, they probably will. There is a lot. We spoke about this last week, but I mean, there's some stuff that's missing from there, which will probably come in the future. But there's a lot of ask for running third-party applications, which I don't know if Ubiquiti will branch into at this point. I mean, their main aim is to get it so you can use your files in a business, or I don't think it's really designed for your home lab sort of thing. But who knows? They might bring out another product. Hey Chris. So yeah, no, thanks for the love for the videos. Happy to make them. I enjoy playing around with the Ubiquiti stuff and yeah, making see what we can and can't do. There was a leak via UniFi Chat GPT, so I'll wait a couple of months for new products. Yeah, I mean, we're coming towards the end of the year, so who knows if they're going to release anything. There was a battery for 250 watt. What was the battery for? Let's just have a quick look. So yeah, I mean that pretty much covers most of the gateways, I would say. No, pretty much, yeah. I mean that pretty much covers most of the gateways. I'm hoping they don't release any more gateways just at this point, because I've only just released the gateway comparison videos. But I thought I'd do this in a live stream because I don't think this is a topic that can ever stop being spoken about. People have constantly got questions about this, which one to buy, where do I go? I'm hoping they would come across my video and they would find it useful. But yeah, I mean it's something that a lot of people always want to know, especially people that are first stepping into the UniFi ecosystem. So yeah, I mean, who knows? I think it will be the other way round. Apps on the UNAS. Only official apps with very strict verification, Apple style. Yeah, I mean, Ubiquiti have always been very Apple focused, I guess. I mean, a lot of their founders are ex-Apple employees. So yeah, I mean, maybe that's why I was drawn to their ecosystem. I am a bit of an Apple fan. I used to do some Apple videos in the past as well. So, I mean, it does give you that Apple-esque feeling, and it's nice in some instances. But I think in some instances, it's not always very Apple-esque. And if you read some of the forums, you'll probably see what those are and might be. The 250 watt battery is a power solution, redundant design for reliable power for uniform devices. Okay, fine. Is this from the UniFi GPT, is it? So 250 watt battery backup, multiple DC ports to connect to various units. Okay, fine, interesting. Compact design. Cool. Yeah, okay, that's good to know. Well, we'll see. Maybe we'll come back in a few months or whenever they decide to release it. If they release it, maybe we can come back and we can have another discussion on that. When planning cat cabling for a full house renovation, how can one know where and how many APs are appropriate? Any design tips? So the UniFi, I've not played around with it, but the UniFi Design Center. If you have a look at the UniFi Design Center, it's design.ui.com. On there, you can go ahead and, again, maybe this is another video I might cover on how to use this, but apparently you can build walls, you can draw cabling, and you can pop in the access points to where they are, and you can see this. It shows you the kind of signal that you're going to get. So yeah, it shows you the kind of signal, and you can have like multiple on here. And this is just, I don't have anything on here, so it's not showing me properly, but it shows you like the cameras and where you can see. Like the UniFi Design Center is really good. It's a good place to start anyway. I mean, if you do have any issues or you've got any, I mean, I'm happy to help. Feel free to drop me an email. So yeah, that's generally what I would start with. But yeah, I mean, like I said, so that pretty much covers the gateways. The stream was a little bit longer than I thought it would be. But yeah, I mean, I hope you've all found this useful. It's always good to connect with all of you and yeah, talk about our common interests of our love for Ubiquiti. So, I mean, like I said, remember, do hit the subscribe button, like, follow me. I do have other platforms as well for if you want to follow me on X or Facebook, or Instagram, TikTok, whatever you want to do. I try and stream to all the platforms at once. So if you go to my other platforms, you'll see I am streaming on there as well. But yeah, I mean, feel free to drop me a follow on those other platforms. So someone's just let's just bring this up just before we conclude. Let's just so AC every 20 to 30 meters, long every 30 to 40, depending on wall thickness. If it's European, then maybe 15 square meters. Yeah, that's a very blanket rule, but yeah, I mean that would probably be somewhat true. I mean, the long range ones, just keep in mind what devices you have, because the Wi-Fi connectivity on those, if you've got a phone, for example, I mean, they don't have long range antennas built inside them, so you may not get as good a signal back on some of them. But yeah, I mean, it's a start anyway. It's a start in the right direction. But yeah, so yeah, he's also mentioned the UniFi guidance. We'll give you a guidance as well. Correct. It's not 100% foolproof. Just because it shows that it's green in a certain area doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be green. There's an app. So in the video where I test the U7 Pro Max versus Pro, which is this one right here, there is actually an app called Wi-Fi Man, if you've not heard of it before, which actually gives you a signal mapper and tester. So once you place your access point, you can go around and it will tell you what sort of signal you've got in certain areas. I think it's the Android version, which also shows you it shows you the different channels that are in the area as well. So if you're in a highly densely populated area, it will show you the different channels that are being used to try and give you the most optimized channel to use, basically. Are the long range APs worth getting over the standard ones? If you're not sure, you can do. You can always, so there's a setting within the Wi-Fi access points. Let me bring this up, bear with me. So there's a setting you can set within the Wi-Fi access points. And if I bring this across, bear with me, if I bring this across. So here we go, let's bring this one across. So on here, you can always change the width and channels and the transmit power, so you can reduce the amount that it goes. Mine are set to auto at the moment, but generally I set them to medium. I haven't actually, this is a new setup that I've just done. So I did a 4-part series on setting up my new network, but I haven't fully configured my access points yet. I've shown in the video what you need to do, but I haven't fully reconfigured my access points. I set up my network from scratch again, which is fun. It's not something I would want to do every day, but it's something that's there. So you can always go ahead and set those and reduce the amount of power then signal that it outputs with these basically. Cool. Well, thank you for joining me this evening. It's been good. Hopefully, I'm going to try and continue streaming regularly, at least weekly. So hopefully, I will see you back again next Sunday, a similar sort of time, maybe. So yeah, I mean, feel free to join me in the next one. Thanks all for joining.